Bather, scene, start. Intro music with gentle, hopeful piano chords plays for 5 seconds, then fades slightly under the narration. Visual, opening shot of a pair of well-worn walking shoes, close up on the laces. Are you planning a walk today? Great. Walking is wonderful for staying active. But before you head out the door, visual, camera slowly pans upwards to show the full shoe, then a hand reaching down to adjust the laces. There's one simple thing on your shoes you must check. It could save you from a nasty fall. Falls are a leading cause of injury for us as we get older, and nobody wants that. Visual, transition to a graphic showing statistics about falls in older adults. Keep it brief and easy to read. This isn't about fancy new shoes. It's about making a small adjustment that makes a big difference. We're talking about your shoelaces. Visual, close-up of shoelaces that are clearly too loose. Yes, your laces. Think about it. How many times have you just slipped your shoes on thinking they're good enough? Or maybe you tied them quickly without really paying attention. Visual, quick cuts showing common scenarios. Someone rushing to answer the phone, someone bending over with difficulty to tie their shoes, someone just stepping into shoes without untying them. Life gets busy. I understand. But loose laces are a hidden danger. They can cause you to trip, lose your balance, and fall, especially on uneven sidewalks or when you're rushing to cross the street. Visual, an animated figure stumbling slightly on uneven pavement. Think about the last time you felt unsteady. Maybe you caught your foot on something, or maybe you just felt a little wobbly. Visual, dissolve to a shot of a senior holding onto a railing for support. Those little wobbles can be warning signs, and loose shoelaces can make them much, much worse. Visual, back to the close-up of the shoelaces. The hand begins to carefully tighten them. Today we're going to focus on how to properly tie your shoelaces to prevent falls. It's a simple skill, but it's one that can keep you safe and independent. We'll cover the best knot to use, how tight to tie them, and even some tips for making it easier if you have trouble bending over. Visual, the hand finishes tying the shoelace into a secure knot. Because a properly tied shoelace is like a little insurance policy against falls. It gives you that extra bit of security and confidence to enjoy your walk. Visual, transition to a shot of someone confidently walking down a sidewalk. And feeling confident and secure is what it's all about, isn't it? Visual, the person walking smiles warmly. Now, many of us tie our shoes the same way we always have, but there's actually a better way to tie them, especially as we get older, a way that keeps them tied tighter for longer, and that's what we'll cover next. Visual, soft fade to black. Scene end. Okay, so we've talked about the why. Why adjusting your shoes is so vital to prevent falls. Now, let's get practical. Let's talk about how. First, let's think about the types of shoes you wear most often. Are they lace-ups, slip-ons, maybe shoes with velcro straps? Each type requires a slightly different approach. And remember what we said about swelling. Your feet change throughout the day. What fits comfortably in the morning might feel tight by evening. So make it a habit to check your shoe fit more than once a day. Now, if you are wearing lace-up shoes, take a close look at the laces. Are they frayed? Frayed laces can snap unexpectedly. Imagine you are halfway through your walk and suddenly your shoe comes loose. That's a recipe for a stumble. Replace frayed laces immediately. It's a simple fix, but it can make a world of difference. Also, are your laces tied too tight or too loose? Too tight and they'll restrict circulation, making your feet feel numb. Too loose, and you risk your foot slipping inside the shoe. The goal is a snug but comfortable fit. And here's a little trick. When you tie your laces, make sure the knot is secure. Double knotting can add extra security. Tuck the ends of the laces in so you don't trip over them. Next, let's consider slip-on shoes. These are convenient, but they can be tricky. Make sure the elastic hasn't lost its stretch. If the shoe feels loose and floppy, it's time to replace it. You might consider adding an insole to improve the fit. Insoles can take up extra space and provide better support. And if you have shoes with velcro straps, check the straps regularly. Velcro can lose its grip over time, especially if it gets clogged with dirt or lint. Clean the velcro with a small brush to maintain its stickiness. Make sure the straps are fastened securely before you take a step. Don't assume they are holding. Always check them. Also, pay attention to the soles of your shoes. Are they worn down? Smooth soles can be very slippery, especially on wet surfaces. If the tread is gone, it's time for new shoes. Think of your shoe soles like the tires on your car. You wouldn't drive with bald tires, would you? Same principle applies here. And remember, even if your shoes look fine, the insides can wear out over time. The cushioning can flatten and the support can weaken. So even if they look okay from the outside, they may not be safe to wear. In our next part, we'll talk about specific adjustments you can make for different foot conditions. Because everyone's feet are different and your individual needs matter. See you soon. Okay, let's move on to the third common issue: worn-out soles. Take a close look at the bottom of your walking shoes. Are the treads still deep and grippy, or are they smooth in places? Imagine walking across a wet tile floor. A new shoe with good tread will grip firmly. An old shoe with smooth soles? You're practically ice skating. It's easy to underestimate how quickly shoe soles wear down, especially if you walk regularly. That daily walk around the park, those trips to the grocery store, it all adds up. And it's not always obvious. You might not notice the gradual loss of grip until it's too late, until you slip, until you fall. Now, let's talk about something many of us are guilty of overlooking: the shoelaces. Think about it. You bend down to tie your shoes. You're probably not giving it your full attention. Maybe you're rushing out the door, or maybe you're just a little stiff in the mornings. But loose shoelaces are a huge tripping hazard, and worn-out laces can snap unexpectedly. I want you to do a quick test right now. Look down at your shoes. Are your laces frayed? Are they discolored? Do they feel thin and weak? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, it's time for a new pair. Replacing shoelaces is cheap and easy. You can find them at any drugstore or shoe store, and it's a small investment that can make a big difference in your safety. Here's a trick I use. I double knot my laces. This helps prevent them from coming undone while I'm walking. It takes an extra second, but it's worth the peace of mind. And speaking of tying shoelaces, do you find it difficult to bend over and reach your feet? This is a common problem as we get older. Arthritis, back pain, and decreased flexibility can all make it a challenge. If bending over is difficult for you, consider using elastic shoelaces. These laces don't require tying. You simply slip your shoes on and off. They provide a snug, comfortable fit without the hassle of traditional laces. They're a great option for anyone with limited mobility, and they can help you maintain your independence and continue enjoying your daily walks. We've talked about heel support, worn soles, and shoelaces. These are all important things to check before you head out for your walk. But there's one more adjustment we need to consider, and this one is about how your shoes feel. We'll cover that next. Okay, let's talk about shoelaces. Seems simple, right? But loose shoelaces are a huge tripping hazard. Think about it. You're walking down the street. Maybe you're thinking about what you need to buy at the grocery store, or maybe you're just enjoying the sunshine. Suddenly, your shoelace catches on something. You stumble, you fall, a broken hip, a fractured wrist. It's just not worth the risk. So, how do you avoid this? First, check your shoelaces before you leave the house. Every single time. Make it a habit. Are they frayed? Are they too long? Are they tied tightly? If they're frayed, replace them. A new pair of laces is cheap insurance against a fall. If they're too long, there are a few things you can do. You can try double knotting them, but that can make them harder to untie later, especially if your fingers aren't as nimble as they used to be. Another option is to trim them. But be careful not to cut them too short. You still need enough lace to tie them comfortably. And if you do cut them, use a lighter to melt the very end of the lace. This will stop it from fraying again. Finally, make sure you're tying your shoelaces correctly. I know it sounds basic, but many people tie them wrong without even realizing it. There's a strong knot and a weak knot. The weak knot is more likely to come undone. The easiest way to tell is to look at the knot itself. A strong knot will lie flat. A weak knot will twist to the side. If your knots are twisting, search online for the Ian knot. It's a fast and strong way to tie your shoes. It takes some practice, but it's worth it. It will stay tied longer and more securely. Now, what about slip-on shoes? These can seem like a great option. No laces to worry about. But be careful. Make sure slip-on shoes fit snugly. If they're too loose, your foot can slide around inside. This increases your risk of losing your balance. Also, check the soles of your slip-on shoes. Are they worn down? Are they slippery? If so, it's time for a new pair. I know, buying new shoes can be a hassle, but it's far less of a hassle than recovering from a fall. And one last tip about laces. If you have trouble bending down to tie your shoes, there are adaptive tools available. These tools can help you tie your shoes without having to bend over. They're available online and at many medical supply stores. They can be a real game changer if bending is an issue. Okay, we've covered a lot about shoes. We've talked about heel height, support, sole grip, and shoelaces. But there's one more crucial aspect we need to address. And it might surprise you. It's something you might not even think about checking. But it could be the difference between a safe walk and a nasty fall. I'll explain it in the next part. It's all about where you store your shoes.